Once again, this is your boy Political Hamzy talking about everything Nigeria. If you do like this content, please click the like button, the subscription button, and don't forget to turn on that notification bell. Today's topic will be nice and sweet, short and simple. It's just going to be, is it business as usual? Has anything changed in Nigeria? For me personally, the answer is no, because we now have President Bola Ahmed Tinubu who is there. We've seen that the Labour has been fighting with him about minimum wage. Yes, they've agreed to 70,000 naira minimum wage, but after so much protest, we still have fuel scarcity. We still have increase in petrol prices. Nothing has really changed. The only thing that has changed is just that it's a different person there. Instead of Muhammadu Buhari, it's Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We heard the chief whip of APC, who has now been removed as the chief whip, Senator Ndume, talking about the Senate is filled with thieves, that they're not able to get access. He's not able to, as the chief whip, to get access to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's telling us that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not have the true idea or picture of what is happening in Nigeria, because his advisors are not telling him what is happening. But for me, I just think that's a get out of jail card. Before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu got into office, he knew what was happening on ground. He could see the sufferings. He talked about it, that look, I know what's on ground, I know what's happening, and I'm going to resolve it. Now that he's there, you telling us he doesn't have an idea of what's happening, it's you just trying to justify his incompetency. Look at EFCC. Look at Yahaya Bello. Would he be prosecuted? Would he be found guilty? He will not. This is what keeps on happening with EFCC. For me, the only reason why they're after Yahaya Bello, ex-governor Yahaya Bello, is just because he wanted to take a leadership role within APC, and they decided, you know what, let's clip his wings, and they sent EFCC after him. That's just a warning. If things have changed, have you heard anything about Beta Edu? That case has died off. Nothing is going to happen with that. We still have fuel security, we still have insecurity, fuel scarcity, crumbling infrastructure. If President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wants to tell us, look, I'm changing direction, immediately he got into office, he made all the wrong steps. Look at them importing Toyotas for the National Assembly and for themselves from Japan. Meanwhile, for you to grow your economy, you have to start with local content. We have car manufacturers here in Nigeria. Why do they not lead by example? Even if they don't want to use the car manufacturers in Nigeria, why don't they tell the Japanese, look, we've invested so much in you, why don't you set up an assembly plant here in Nigeria? No, they're not interested. Dangote refinery is now up and running. But you ask yourself, all the refineries, government refineries we have in Nigeria, which one is actually running to full capacity? You ask yourself, the money that the government keeps spending in refining our petroleum products, isn't it cheaper to fix our refineries? Who is gaining? I always tell people it's business as usual. We saw the coastal highway. Yes, they say it's development that would open up Nigeria and help Nigerians. Nigeria is a country whereby we see how much Kenya, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana they make from tourism. Have we actually invested in our tourism sector? Yankari Game Reserve is there, Obudu Cattle Ranch is there, everything is crumbling. Now you have private investors within Lagos State that invested in the tourism sector in Lagos State, Landmark Beach, and you knock it down. Let me ask the federal government this question. Imagine United Arab Emirates. They have this big highway they want to construct, and it has to go through the Mall of Emirates. Do you think they'll knock down the Mall of Emirates or they'll find an alternative? America, Disneyland, Orlando, Florida. Do you think the government will knock it down to build a highway or find an alternative? They'll find an alternative. And we are now hearing the talks about the only reason why they're doing this coastal highway from there and they're starting from Lagos is because of Ekwa Atlantic City, because the Chaguris are the friends of the president. And so now you ask yourself, this investment you're making, is it for the majority or for the minority? And as I've said it before, this is going to be a white elephant project. It's business as usual. They do not care about the people of Nigeria. If not, ask me, why did they have to spend billions of naira building a new vice presidential accommodation or residence for the vice president? That money, wouldn't it have been better served in education, in roads? And even when I look at what's happening in Nigeria and they say the coastal highway, you ask yourself, all these things you're starting in Lagos State, does Lagos State have the infrastructure to actually handle this? No drainage. When it rains, it floods. No power. No roads. So, it's like we lack planning. We have leaders that lack vision. And as I said, it's business as usual. Because when you see people like Wike, ex-governor Wike, who is now the Federal Capital Territory Minister, each time you see him on TV, he's always song and dance. And you're like, it's time to pull up your socks, tie your belt, and start solving the problems of Nigeria. The only thing you hear these people talking about is 4 more years, how President Bola Tinubu re-election, and you're like, you haven't even completed the first tenure. We have nothing to show for the first tenure, and you're talking about the next 4 years. People get into government in Nigeria, and when they think it's the opportunity to eat from the national cake instead of serving the people. Look at Wole Soyinka, things named after him and everything the president is doing. And you ask yourself, we are like, yes, Wole Soyinka, the first black Nobel laureate, in literature from Africa. Fantastic. But you ask yourself, is this acknowledgement based on what he has done for the nation, or is it based on him tackling the obedience? Because when you hear this, when they're always castigating the obedience, you sit back and you say, Professor Wole Soyinka, when you were fighting for democracy, you were talking about freedom of speech, rule of law. You said this is our rights. We are fighting for the rights of the people. Now the obedience are doing the same thing, but because it's against the person you feel is the right man as president, now you're looking at them as militants. You're now disregarding freedom of speech because it's against your man. At the end of the day, I can ask you, is Wole Soyinka a true Democrat? After all, he served under President or under the head of state Sani Abacha. When he joined Nadeko and started shouting democracy, it's when they removed him from the Federal Road Safety. When they removed him as the head of Federal Road Safety. So you now ask yourself, all his talk, was it because they removed him from the table? Immediately he stopped eating at the table. He now shouted democracy. Unfortunately, all these people shouting democracy, even Dele Alake, you see these people, even President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you see them, they're like, oh, Labour are trying to sabotage Nigeria, Labour are against Nigeria, and you see these same people, you're like, these are the same people that were calling for strikes, that were calling for mass protests under President Goodluck Jonathan. And now you're in the hot seat and the same thing is happening to you. You're saying people are unpatriotic. These people do not care about you. They're now talking about, oh, we think the president needs another private jet. Why? It's like there are killings going on regularly, kidnappings going on regularly, herdsmen going on regularly, bandits. It's now a regular thing to Nigeria. It's like before, when these things happen, you're like, wow. But now Nigerians have learned to live with it. And the government don't care. They lock themselves up in Abuja because they have bulletproof cars, they have armed security. You saw what happened in Kenya. It shows you the power of the people. When we stand together as one, change will come. Did the Kenyan president, didn't he sacked all his ministers, the attorney general, sacked all of them? This is the power of the people. I tell people, you have the power, you just need to unite. I keep telling people, you need to really get involved in politics. We shouldn't be waiting every 4 years. We should start now, going to meetings, going to gatherings. Let them know, look, we have a vested interest in this. Would Nigeria change in our time? I really don't know, because even this new generation coming up, they're worse than the old generation because they've been groomed by the old generation. Once again, this is your boy Political Hamzy. Please do have a nice week. Thank you.